If I was to show you this picture, I wonder how long it would take you to realise who it is. Well, it's the Queen, of course. And one of the most important things that tell us that a person is a king or queen is that they wear a crown. And the Queen there's wearing the very impressive crown that she wears on state occasions. In fact, it's the one that was used at her coronation. It's very impressive, isn't it? I don't know if you've ever seen any of the crown jewels, but they're absolutely amazing to look at. And they might even make us gasp with their beauty and richness. Well, there are lots of ceremonies and contests and the like, which end with the winner being crowned. Sometimes it's with a glittering crown, perhaps a little less impressive than that. Sometimes with a wreath of leaves, sometimes it's a trophy or a prize, and we still say they're crowned champion. Sometimes it's just with something pretend. But when that happens, it reminds people that someone is a king or a queen. Sometimes it's for the years when they rule a country. Sometimes it might be for a shorter time, very often for a year, until the next person comes along and is crowned the victor. There are even some old ceremonies you might have heard about where someone can be made a king or a queen for a day. And that reminds me of something that took place in the city of Jerusalem about 2,000 years ago. A king was visiting the city. People lined the streets hoping to get to see the king. The king came riding on a small donkey, and as he rode through the streets of the city, some people spread their cloaks on the road, and others waved palm leaves and other branches and shouted, "Hosanna to the Son of David! Blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord! Hosanna in the highest heaven!" Well, I'm sure you know who that king was. It was Jesus. And today we remember the entry of Jesus into Jerusalem, and the people cheering and waving palm branches. They were greeting Jesus as their king. The only problem was, it didn't last. He was only their king for a day. Later that same week, Jesus was arrested, beaten, tried, and crucified. Many of the same people who had cheered him on Sunday turned against him. Now he wore a crown, but it was a mocking crown of thorns. The Bible tells us that one day every knee will bow and confess that Jesus Christ is King of Kings and Lord of Lords. The question is, why do we wait? Why are we sometimes so slow to give our hearts and lives to Jesus and receive the forgiveness that he offers? Why not today? Jesus wants to be the ruler and Lord of your life. He doesn't want to be your king for a day. He wants to be your forever king. Of course, the story of Jesus entering Jerusalem on a donkey to be met by cheering crowds shouting, "Hosanna," a word that means save us, is just the beginning of what we call Holy Week. We recall the things that happened to Jesus in the last week of his life. We have the palm crosses that we carry today to remind us of that week. They're made from branches of a palm tree, and where Jesus lived, the palm tree was everywhere. The branches of the palm were a symbol of victory and joy. During the time of Jesus, people used to wave palm branches as they cheered in celebration when an important person, such as a king, rode through the streets of the town or city. And on the Sunday before he was crucified, Jesus rode through the streets of Jerusalem on the back of a small donkey, and as he rode along, people waved palm branches and they shouted and they cheered. Jesus' final week can be divided into 3 parts. The first 2 days of the week find the crowds in a mood of acceptance and praise. The middle of the week, they begin to question and challenge. By the end of the week, their attitude had completely changed to rejection and crucifixion. It seems hard, doesn't it, to believe that just a few days after what we remember on Palm Sunday, Jesus was arrested, tried, and led to Calvary to be crucified. The cheers that he had heard on Sunday now turned to jeers. Many of the people who just a few days before had shouted, "Hosanna to the Son of David," "Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord," had now turned against him. They were now shouting, "Crucify him, crucify him. He is not our king. We have no king but Caesar." They were even offered the choice of whether to free a criminal named Barabbas or to free Jesus. They chose to free Barabbas and crucify Jesus. Many of his once faithful followers forsook him. Today, the palms. Tomorrow, the passion. You and I have to make a choice. We can choose to follow Jesus and make him the King and Lord of our life. Or we can choose to forsake him, like those people who cried, "Crucify him. He is not our King." So the question for us as we start this Holy Week is, will we be found faithful? Palm Sunday can bring for us a moment of decision. A decision to say yes, despite all the doubts. A decision to make Christ count in our lives. A decision to stand back from the crowd and respond as individuals to the invitation offered to all of us to live as God's children. As this Holy Week unfolds, just watch as the characters play their parts. Then be still for a moment and decide how you are going to respond to this Jesus who came riding on a donkey. And as we walk through Holy Week, let us be willing to follow Christ, who went through it all willingly, out of the deepest possible love for us. Jesus, the one who wants to be our King forever.